Mike, turning to matters, I suppose, more parochial and putting our Munster hats on. For one, I'm really, really looking forward to the new season. Tyke Byrne coming in, Joey Carberry coming in, and not just these guys coming in, but guys that have missed huge chunks of the season from Munster: Chris Farrell, Chris Clutie, Jack O'Tauta. These guys who have, we've seen the impact that they've had since arriving to Munster, and we've seen the cost. It cost Munster dearly. I mean, I think Sam Arnold and Rory Scannell played a huge amount of minutes towards the back end of last season, and I think you saw it from them that that the energy was pretty much gone. They were flogged. They were flogged because they had no real other choice. But these guys coming back, Munster are in a really good place, and I think if we can get those few extra percentages added on to what we did this year, then I can't see how we're not going to be challenging for honours this year.
Yeah, again, I'd agree with you, and I think that I suppose the positive of guys getting injured was the guys that came in and really stood up to what was asked of them. A lot of them did, So I think from that point of view, again, it's all about getting competition and guys pushing each other, and Munster's a great environment for that. And you look at someone like Sam Arnold. Maybe if Chris Farrell hadn't got injured, Sam Arnold mightn't have got as much game time. But for him to get that game time like he did, he's just an example. Chris is coming back, an outstanding player, but he's going to be looking over his shoulder. Of course he is. And again, you look at the back row, the competition that's there with the likes, as you say, Chris Cloud coming back after a long-term injury. You throw Tyke Byrne into the mix there, a guy who's so valuable, not just what he can do, as we've all seen this year, but just he's so valuable because he's a second row come back row. So it allows you just to move players around. There's a lot of flexibility within that Munster team as well. Even out wide, you've players that can play out of centre, play wings, so play full back. There's a lot of good variables that are going on there. Mike Kelly's another guy that's going to come in. He's a good player. Watching playing the Aviva Aviva Premiership the last couple of seasons. He's an exciting player, good ball player. So there's a very, very good balance to the Munster team next year. Looking at their Heineken Cup, we can call it Heineken Cup again. Their group. I know I was reading Johan van Graan was saying it's a tough group. Every group is tough, but
It's not a bad group
it's not a bad group when you look at it overall. As I said, I alluded earlier about just my own knowledge here of the top 14 teams that have done well. Sorry, the teams that have won the top 14 the following year, they've always struggled. Cast, that could happen to Cast. It's no guarantee, but if Munster, usually you want to get a French team later because they'll be out of it. Getting them early mightn't be a bad thing either because they play till very late. Their pre-season starts late. They mightn't get into the groove of things for a while. And then obviously you look at Exeter quality outfit. They're a great team. That's going to be the big challenge, and then Gloucester as well. So Gloucester could actually be the kind of the dark horses. I think they've threatened over the last number of years, haven't really fulfilled. But Johan Ackerman has done good recruitment this year. But I would still, there's that excitement going into the season as well. For Munster, knowing they've a tough group, but as they said, nothing's impossible, and definitely not with that group, I think.
Yeah, I definitely think they got a workable group, or a group that they can
It's
get
managed.
through. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think as well, Mike, that the meeting of the French away fixture in any group is always key as to when you get it, because some team is going to get the French away in their last game if they're out of it. Compared to, I think Munster had Castres first up last year in the pool, and they managed to get a draw in a game that they should have won, could have lost, and ended up settling for the draw. So again, there's so many variables in that into when you end up drawing that French side that could have an effect on how the pool pans out.
Yeah, absolutely. Like as you said, if ideally um, you'd want Cast at home in your maybe first or second game, and then the away game towards the end, because as I said, it takes a lot out of. Again, they wouldn't have they done so well to win the top 14 this year, but they wouldn't have too many household names, wouldn't have a massively deep squad, and I do think they'll have a bit of a hangover this season, like it showed with other squads that have probably been deeper, you know. So as you said, I think the fixture list for Munster will be very interesting as well, and what way it pans out, you know, because it's all those variables that count as well at the end of the day. But look, it's they're the advantages or the disadvantages you have, I suppose. From the outside, you look at the pool, and you know, you look, and as you alluded to, it's not the worst either, and there'll always be, you know, that bit of excitement in when you go back into training, knowing, and it's not just that competition. Obviously, there's the Pro 14, and you know, that's a competition I'm sure they'll really look to go after this year with the depth they have, because when they're missing their internationals, there's a good chance for guys to step up, and it just, as I say, keeps pushing the standards, and that's kind of what Leinster have as well. You know, they just have so many players in each position, and you know, even the senior guys know if they drop off performance wise that you know, Leo or Stuart Lancaster, they've no problem in flicking guys around, you know, and that kind of snowballs then up to the Irish team as well, and that's the way it works in Irish rugby, and that's the beauty of the IRFU controlling the whole situation, the whole rugby, I suppose, structure in Ireland as opposed to other countries like I see it over here, you know, and it's we're not having this conversation by accident either. It's a knock-on effect of good planning, good structures, everything put into place, not just the last 2 or 3 years, but probably over the last 10 years. The benefits of that are really, really starting to come through now. And I'd see the kind of other side of it here in France. And they're looking at the Irish model, like England looked at it a couple of years ago. France are looking at it now. They'll never, because of so many clubs, they'll never be able to put it in place, but they need to work better with their unions. Whereas in Ireland, you know, it's the union that control, and it's a great way to have it. And as I said, we're the second best team in the world now, looking to be the best team in the world, you know. So